Hello everyone, this is Chris Gazdick, he is Craig Graves, and this other man that's hanging out with us is Mr. Chris Lowrance. So we are talking about policing and mental health. So the brief intro is going to be just that, though this is not the delivery of therapy services in any way. This is the human emotional experience, and we are endeavoring to figure this thing out together. So it sounds like it's been a day for y'all. It's been about, I'm surprised, Craig, we did that turnaround pretty well. It's been about 72 seconds for you. For this impossible question, and I apologize for putting you on the stand with that. I heard you mutter as he was thinking, like, I don't know how I'm going to characterize 30 years of policing in one question, but I'm going to try. What you think, man? What you got? What comes to your mind, sir?
Well, I think the only way you could answer an impossible question is with an impossible answer.
Fair enough.
30 years, 28 years in law enforcement, and characterize a situation that sticks out. You know, there's so many of them. You remember, you experience people at their worst. You know,
Right.
People don't call the police when they're having a great time.
Right.
They call the police when they're having a really terrible time. Something tragic's happened or something that has disrupted their life.
Dramatically.
I can remember a call in Cramerton where a child drowned. I was standing on the front porch of the house with his sister. They had gotten him out of the pool, and the little girl looks at me and she says, "Tell me my brother's going to be okay. Tell me he's going to be okay. Tell me he's going to be okay." And I couldn't tell her that he was going to be okay because I knew that he probably wasn't going to be okay. But how do you convey hope to a kid that's 7 or 8 years old, you know, of the tragedy that's going on?
Right.
You know, how do you give them that little bit of hope other than telling them that they're doing everything that they can to help him? You know, we had CPR on a child that was 19 months old when my son was 19 months. You know, you get there, the other officer was helping. We were doing compressions. We got a pulse back on the child. He died at the hospital. I couldn't tell you the kid's name.
Right.
I can't tell you where the house is. What sticks with me on that call is the kid had dirty fingernails.
Right.
You know, why do I remember he has dirty fingernails? I don't know.
Right.
It's just, you can't answer that question with one answer. It's a culmination of your experiences over all those years.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. And that's, you know, earlier on our show, Craig, you know, we talked about compound trauma, you know.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was very, very early on, and I think we need to redo that one. It's one of the few that I want to kind of revisit and really, I mean, I have so much content that we want to talk about because mental health is so profound, and what you're describing is compound traumatic realities that just stack up over and over again, and they bleed in. It's the same thing, honestly, Chris, that we see with someone that grows up with childhood molestation over and over and over again from like the age 7 to 15. That you get fractured memories, you get random things that just sticks out, and it could be anything. You know, the look that you saw in the sky with the blood moon on a particular call, or, you know, a feeling and sensation. Actually, yeah, I can do this. I just pause in my head because I don't want to release any confidentiality, but I think I can say this safely because it's pretty random. Yeah, one guy was telling me it was the feeling that he had when he cracked a rib, you know, doing CPR, and that just boom, that stuck in with him. You know, it locks into your mind, it locks into your experience, and you revisit that in dreams and flashbacks and experiences. You know, it might be, somebody was telling me, I think it was a friend and family, you know, where, you know, he's military and, you know, he come back from Afghanistan and, you know, going down a city, looks up and he can't tell anybody this is going on for him. He's silent with it. It's in his own self. But he looks up and he sees a glint of glimmer off of the window off of a high building. And what do you think he saw? Right? That's a sniper. Right? That's a sniper that he just saw. Walking down with his kids, what like 4th of July or just a normal Sunday afternoon. It's like these random things just, like I said, they stick into your head and play back.
Well, those are what I call little pieces. You know, over the course of your career, I say you pick up little pieces. And, you know, sometimes in your career you may have an incident that is a big piece, but every piece has a weight to it. and 28, 30 years of law enforcement, those little pieces add up and they get to be really heavy.
And I'm glad this came up in the way that we did, because before we turned the mics on, and you said that, and you remember what I said a little bit ago? How about 20, 25, 30 months?
Right.
What we got to understand is it doesn't take long to begin, the building blocks of the way that your mind and brain is wired with your amygdala. That's your fight or flight system in your brain, and your limbic system in your brain learns how to click out of survival on just one incident, and then follow up that with 3 weeks later another incident. You start getting kind of wired into a certain way.
Fight or flight in law enforcement, you can't always be the flight.
No, you can't.
You have to be there.
Yeah. And you learn how to cope. I know there's coping that we do and things that we have happen, to kind of adjust, and it can be done. But it's a complicated process, isn't it?
It is. And if you look at the changes in society, just with generational change between, like my parents, my dad's 81. There's so many changes in society, but the experiences that law enforcement encounter, if you think about it, are the same. Law enforcement, the things that they encountered back in the 60s, and I'm not speaking of civil rights and things of that they experienced. I'm talking about the situational experiences that they have on scenes. The homicides that they deal with, the sex assaults that they deal with. Those things remain the same. Society changes.
Mm-hmm.
But the law enforcement job, now granted, we have different tools to handle it with, technologies, computers, databases, all kind of things like that, which are fantastic tools. But the experiences that the law enforcement experience hasn't changed.
It's human.
Right. It is what it is.
It's human.
It's not going to change.
I
what
agree.
they experience isn't going to change. What the paramedics experience isn't going to change. They may have different tools to handle things with. Treatments may change, but their experiences don't change.
And we need to learn by the tools and the treatments for sure in a big way, and catch up with that, because I couldn't agree more. I've been doing therapy for 25, 30 years, and early on in my career, I'm thinking of, it was a whole other county and everything, so I think I could say this too. Police chief kind of told me how he has just this vault. This vault that he has kind of, locked away with all of these different things that he's kind of experienced. That isn't going to change. Because it is the human emotional experience, what we say at the top of every show.
Well, it shapes who you are.
Right.
It shapes who law enforcement officers are. All of them that I know are pretty good people.
Right.
It's not a department of monsters. I think a lot of things on TV, there's things that we as a society have to address with law enforcement. But all the guys that I know, they're pretty good guys.
Yeah, and gals. And gals, absolutely. You don't go into it thinking you're going to do, harm to people and all the crazy stuff that happens.
But you change. You change over time in law enforcement. And I watch new officers come in that are really excited, and, they're excited to go see that crime scene.
Right. Adrenaline rush.
Yeah, they want to go see the gory stuff.
I know that because I told you before the mics came on, I was a mobile crisis team worker. I tried to beat you guys there.
They want to go see it because they've never seen it before.
Right.
But when they go see it, they pick up that piece.
Right.
And they don't realize they're picking up that piece when they're 6 months into the job or a year into the job. Towards the end of my career, I didn't need to go in. If someone was deceased, I didn't need to go in and see it. There's nothing I could do to help it.
Right.
So it's time for the crime scene guys to come in and figure out what's happened, if it's natural or if there's something suspicious going on. But
Chris, talk more about the change. Does it? I know the excitement. You did say that the excitement wears off. But how does it change your mindset and your outlook? Do you become numb to seeing a kid 19 months old die? I mean, how does that work?
There's certain things that you never become numb to. Children's one of them. There's not many situations. Police cars can go really fast nowadays. We try and control that. Supervisors try and control that. But everybody out there will drive the wheels off that car to get to a child that needs help. Be it a lost child, they're coming. A lot of people are coming. If it's a defib call and it's a child, people are driving the wheels off their car to get there. It's somewhat like the officers become jaded. You experience the same thing over and over and over again. You go to the domestics, it's the same type of situations. It's just the repetition of it. It's something that occurs over and over and over again, and you don't have any control to make it stop. The experiences that you have, they don't stop. They compound on themselves.
And, let me take a stab at something, with that. On the show, we try to blow up stereotypes and myths and disseminate information. That's my primary kind of kick, right? So there's a myth that I'd like to blow up that people can't understand that. But I think that if you think about it, we experience that in other industries in a way. And here's what I mean. And I want to see what your brain does with this. So, in even doctors' offices, when doctors are talking to other doctors, right? Military, we said, you're in the foxhole. We're talking about what we did in theater and how that worked and what our breaks were like and what our bases were like. In therapy room circles, we do that too. You say jaded, if you ever hear two therapists talking to each other, you're going to hear some pretty crazy conversations because we have kind of an understanding. It's like, oh yeah, I had that suicide situation, or oh my gosh, you should have seen that bipolar person. They just went and did. You know what they told me that they did? And you just get into this sort of this accepted alternative norm that people outside of that norm would be.
They don't understand it.
They don't. They don't.
So then you don't talk to them about it. You talk to the people that understand it
in a different way,
right?
But when you're talking to other people that aren't in that. The myth is that other people can't comprehend in any way what happens, and I think that people can, because doctors can describe what they experience when they've got you know how many things have been pulled out of various orifices in the emergency room?
I've seen x-rays.
There's some shows on that, man.
Well, one of the calls, we had a medical call that we assisted on. I don't know the man's name, his real name. They call him Squirrel. Squirrel rode in the back of a pickup truck to go get more beer. They didn't need more beer.
Probably not.
But on the way back, when they got back, they realized Squirrel was not in the bed of the pickup truck.
Oh my gosh.
Squirrel had fallen out of the bed of the pickup truck.
Oh.
Squirrel had bitten half of his tongue off.
Oh my gosh.
It's a really bad situation. But how do you handle that?
Right.
I mean, you got to put a little humor with it.
Right.
But you can't put humor with it in front of them.
Right.
So, you see officers off to the side and maybe they're laughing or something, but it's a coping mechanism for the officers.
Absolutely. Same for therapists.
So it's the way that they deal with it and the way that they try and process things that otherwise they couldn't process.
It's a normal human emotional response. Mm-hmm. It really is.
I mean, when a squirrel bites his tongue off, you got to laugh.
You two began on funny people falling and mm-hmm. crazy events, off a ladder. It makes me cringe sometimes, but that is a normal human experience, and I don't think people understand that is normal because there is criticism, and what sucks, honestly, for policing, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's always this camera right now.
There is.
Right? The audience can't see that facial gesture, And you're in the public eye really all the time. And, when you're on scene, there's somebody in the window that you didn't notice looking down.
With their cell phone. And the camera's on.
Right. It's an impossible scenario to try to cope with, would be my point. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Chris, are there other coping mechanisms? I mean, is humor the main one? Because, I don't know how much about my mindset coaching stuff but a lot of what we put into our mind is going to come out, right?
Sure.
So, if you put negativity in, negativity is going to come out. And I'm assuming that a lot of what police officers do are negative situations, right?
Well, it's
a good question. It's a really good point.
It's kind of funny you bring that up. My wife tells me I'll always look at the negative things. But looking at the negative things have kept me safe for 28 years. So I'm jaded in her eyes. I have changed. I look for things that could hurt me so that I stay safe. The average person doesn't do that. They don't spend their day walking around in a hyper-vigilant state. Police officers are hyper-vigilant while they're on the job. They might come down a little bit while they're standing in the gas station drinking some coffee with some other officers, but they're still watching who walks in the door, and they're still profiling people and looking, and is there something on their waist? you don't drop back down. You spend your career at a higher state of vigilance than the average person does. So whenever you go home, that should be your safe time. That's when your body should recover. But maybe there's marital problems. Maybe there's financial problems.
Usually there is.
Maybe you're not getting back down to the level for your body and your mind to recover. So your mind's not resting. And if you don't change that, if you don't get to a
steady state,
to where you can recover, your body's going to change it for you. So if you don't change it, your mind's going to change it. Your body's going to change it, and you're going to experience things.
And here's the thing I'd like to take a stab at. People can identify with that. And I have a perfect example. They can't experience it because of the adrenaline dumps that we've talked about, the dopamine dumps that Sean McGinnis talked about. But, Craig, we've all been experiencing that recently. You have any idea how we've all as a society been experiencing that?
Well, with COVID, with the pandemic?
Yeah. Right? That's been so tough on people. So anyone listening to this show can have a little bit of an understanding literally around the world, because people are living in complete, constant, and chronic medical fear. A lot of us. Now, some of us aren't. Some of us aren't doing that. I'm one. I haven't really been, terrified by that. But a chunk of our society is literally like just chronically sleeping and dreaming. We've done some studies about, the anxiety dreams that people are having are profoundly increased across the world. So when you have that chronic stress threshold met, that's what happens for people. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. It's crazy how your mind works and controls your body.
Yes. Breathing and, Craig, you kind of said with the unbeatable mind stuff, right? Like, the whole idea is 20 minutes of breathing practice, That makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Is there any kind of things like that, Chris, that like breathing practices or anything? Please, I know the Navy SEALs.
Please say yes.
No.
Please say yes.
No.
No.
There are none.
I studied under a SEAL, and the SEALs learn a tactical breath. So when they're in these situations, they breathe through some of that stress. They'll take a four count in and a 4 count out or more, a certain number of times. And that will scientifically calm your body. Nothing like that?
No. And one of the things that I actually realized, and I'd never realized it until we started wearing the body-worn cameras, we use Axon brand, driving in pursuits, chasing cars, to go back and watch the video and listen to myself breathe, to hear me mutter things or talk to motorists that won't get out of my way.
Right.
You don't realize you're saying it, but you'll hear on the video whenever you're in a high-speed pursuit, and you can actually hear yourself. It has an effect on your body. You're dealing with all this. It's not solely the adrenaline dump of the chase. It's okay. This chase is getting ready to end. What's going to happen when it ends?
Oh yeah.
Right.
So it's the unknown. It's the known, the adrenaline that you get during the chase, be it a foot pursuit or a shooting, or it's what is going to happen afterwards.
Let me pop a real live, real in the moment kind of thing. Let me just check in with you, even like kind of talking about it. Do you get any of that sense?
Oh, I think back in situations in my head.
Does your body get any of that sense?
Sure it does.
Right?
I even go back and watch your video.
Yeah.
Or watching other people's pursuit videos. I can tell my heart rate picks up.
Wow.
Right. Right now as we're talking.
Well, I think anybody that goes on YouTube and watches a video of a pursuit.
That's why we like it.
Yeah, it's because it pumps you up a little bit.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's why we like this job.
Yeah.
That's why I like being a police officer.
Yeah.
I don't get pumped up a whole lot to elementary school anymore.
That's probably good.
We got a late bus coming in.
Hot pursuit. I'm late for school.
Well, I got to get the thermometer and go check kids' temperatures at the door.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be cutting today, and we're going to be coming tomorrow with the police ride. And then we're going to kind of condense. See what's funny, Craig, about this new format? They get to see, it's funny. We need to get these show notes that people can kind of see where we wanted to go. And we have good notes that I'm not going to get to totally. But we're learning our new process here. We're going to combine a little bit on the mental health implications after policing and during policing and kind of go through that. But we want to get this bike ride and kind of what's happening in your current journey, and then we'll get to some of those points on, I guess that'll probably be Wednesday and the beginning of next week. So I hope you're enjoying this conversation. We got a lot to cover and a lot to say, and I think that we're doing a great job. Chris, you're rocking the house, man. You're doing awesome. Craig, anything to say in summing us up so far right now, and we'll cut to tomorrow.
I got nothing.
All right, man. We're going to see you guys. You have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.